Welcome to Unfiltered Hummingbird. I am your host, Camellia. Hey, we're going to unpack some questions, interview some guests, have a little fun together. Come on, let's get to it. All right, the value or impact, I would say, of grandparents. The value and impact of your grandmother, your nana in my case, your grandfather, your pop-pop, your pop-pop or your pawpaw, whatever name you gave your grandparents. The value and the impact of your grandparents in your life. Hey, that's what we're talking about today. And if you are a grandparent, you want to stick around because you're going to say, yep, that's about right. That's how I see it. So there was many days, almost every day, every other day for sure, that I would call my nana on the phone every day after work. Every day after work on my ride home, we had our little daily jam sessions. And these were sessions that we talked about any and everything. Traffic, what I did at work, what she did, how many eggs she collected out of the chicken pen, what's growing in her garden, what my uncle and my cousins were doing, and how many people she had to shoo out of her yard. I mean, it was just any and everything I talked to my nana about, and it was the most beautiful friendship that I had. And that is that as we got grown. When I was grown, that's when we started to have those more relationships, life experience conversations. When I was growing up, oh, my nana made sure that I knew that she loved me. I mean, and not so much as that she spoiled me, although I think I am, or I was, her favorite grandchild. I don't know what my cousins would say, but I would definitely say that I was her favorite grandchild. I loved sitting on the couch with my arm wrapped in her arm, sitting and watching black and white cowboy movies, and Columbo. I just love, and even though we knew the outcome at the end of every show, it was still so special to me. So my grandma, she meant a lot to me. I loved her dearly. And when I looked this up, I was wondering, what's the average age of a person to be a grandparent? Now, nowadays, this age range has probably changed. But what I found on AARP was a study that they said that the average age of a grandparent is 45. Now, that seemed kind of high for me, because nowadays, depending on this data, and let me make a disclaimer here, this data specifically is going to deal with data that has been collected. So as in every survey that you can find out there, you're going to find data that probably can be challenged because it's based on whoever submits the survey, whoever takes the test or submits the data, right? So according to AARP, they said that the average age was 45. So they said on this study on AARP that about 1/3 of all adults are grandparents, or they are becoming a grandparent at the age of 47. Some other data that I was thinking about and that I read on that same study with AARP, they said that the average grandparents have 6 grandchildren, and about 77% of grandparents are married, and about half are still working. So I fit in that class. I recently became a grandmother for the first time, y'all. Yay! Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I've been a grandmother for all about 10 months, and I'm telling you, my beautiful grandbaby girl, I tell her every day, oh, you make my day. You make my day as soon as I see her. So my name is not Grandma. My name is Sugar. Okay, so I said, oh, you make Sugar's day. You make my day. So I am her sugar, Suga. Okay, I'm her sugar, and she's my sugar. But I'll tell you, I fit in that category. About half grandparents are still working because I still work. So when we talk about the value or the impact of grandparents in your life, my Nana, every summer, I would take my oldest daughter to my Nana's house every summer. She kept her every summer. Dropped her off as soon as school ended. And I didn't come back and get my daughter until probably 1 week. At the closest, a couple of days before school started. But no more than a week before school started. So my Nana, she kept my baby the whole summer. Most breaks, she was back down to her Nana's house. And every time I would send my daughter to my Nana's, that was my time. I got to do whatever I wanted. Whatever I wanted. It was just my time. I didn't have to be a mama. I just had to be a grown woman doing grown folks things. But the value of my Nana, she was so supportive of me. She provided childcare, parenting. You know, she preserved all of our family traditions that we still hold in our family today, you know, regarding holiday traditions, regarding the things that when we sit down and eat at the table, when we pray every day, going to church, all of our traditions, family traditions, our culture, my Nana withheld within and instilled that in my children. She had wisdom and knowledge, and she provided that family bonding, and my Nana was a great role model to me. She served as a positive role model for my children, and they serve as positive role model for their grandchildren. I mean, grandparents demonstrate this resilience and empathy and compassion for us and for life. Come on now, if you can sit down at the feet of your grandparents, if you still have them today, take advantage of that time that you have right now with your grandparents. I have one grandmother left. God bless her. I have one left. But my Nana, the one I'm speaking of, she's gone on to be with the Lord. And I miss her dearly. But I am so grateful of the impact she had in my children's life, that she was able to, the same values, the same love, the same compassion, the same resilience and fortitude that she had, she put in me and she put in my girls. So I'm so grateful for that. You know, another thing that grandparents do, they help us how to interact socially. They help us mediate conflicts. They help us create positive relationships within our families. Because you know, what is it your grandmother tells you? You know, don't be mean to your brother. Don't be mean to your sister. Stop treating your cousins that way. Love your auntie. Call your auntie. You know, our grandmothers are just a lot of times that backbone, right? They're the backbone in our family. So, and that's what my Nana was. She was a backbone. Oh, she was a force to be reckoned with. You did not come in my Nana's yard. She did not like people walking on her grass. No, ma'am. And she had a beautiful green lawn. But she didn't like people walking on, especially if she didn't know you. Oh, she would sit on that stoop and dare you. She would tell you in a minute, get off my yard, get off my grass. Oh yeah, she was, maybe that's where I get it from. That feistiness from my Nana. You know what else grandparents do? They serve as, I would say, mentors to us, and especially to our grandkids. How many of you have said, oh, there's no way I would have gotten away with what you just let them get away with? Oh, it's a different type of love. It's a different type of love. I saw it a little as a grandchild, but now being a grandma myself, oh yeah, Oh, it's a different type of love going on. I'm telling you. Oh, my grandbaby girl, if she just looks and gives me that squinted little smile, showing all of, she got all teeth, y'all. If she just showing them teeth, oh, I melt. I melt. It's just like, oh, what do you want? What do you want? Sugar, get it. Sugar will get it. It's just so adorable. And at times, I like my grandbaby more than I like my daughter. I know I got some other grandmas that'll say the same thing. Something else that I was thinking about is our grandparents create this legacy. Things that we didn't know about for our family, they're held with our grandparents. And our grandparents, they're this integral part of our family's history and our heritage. You know, like, who are we? You know, what went on in our family? Our grandparents hold that history. And you need to ask the question, why you still have them here? Because there are so many secrets that go in the grave. So many secrets go in the grave because either one, the family won't tell you, or two, you never asked. Because I've learned that, you know, as our grandparents get older, they're more open with information. You just ask them. It's no reason for them to hold it back. Now they figure you're grown, you can handle it. You bold enough to ask it, they're gonna tell you. So ask the question while you have time. If you have your grandparents, ask. I'm pretty sure that there'll be like an open book to share. And you know, another thing too that my grandmother, my Nana, always did, she always took me to nursing homes to volunteer. So she played a valuable role in my life to show me about community service, giving back, you know, realizing how blessed we are as a family. So she wanted to instill in us to volunteer and give back, care for others, do good for others. So, these things that they all were instilled by our grandparents. Supportive, childcare, what I talked about, preserving traditions, knowledge, wisdom, family bonding, role models, helping out with relationships, mentoring us. They're keepers, like almost gatekeepers of our legacy and our heritage, and always inspiring us to be involved in our community. These things are what our grandparents, some of the qualities that our grandparents give to us. And that's also, I want to say, that's also the impact of our grandparents. That's the impact. I interviewed a couple of months ago, earlier this year, I interviewed Alise Cortez, Dr. Alise Cortez. She wrote a book called Coloring Life. And within the Coloring Life, she gives 6 whispers about what she learned when both her parents passed away. Both her parents, y'all, passed away within a short time frame. She lost her mom and her dad. And she came up with, as she was going through this process, she developed or came up with 6 whispers. And one of them was expressing your sentiments, which means that she wrote about telling your loved ones how much you love them. And in her book, she tells about love stories, love letters that she would write to her grandmother. She hand wrote letters to her grandmother. Isn't that beautiful? Handwritten letters to your grandmothers. Now, you don't even see handwritten letters that much nowadays. But I had a mother-in-law, Mama Lolly. I would tell you, baby, every birthday, she always had a card in that mail for you. You either received it on the day of your birthday or the day of that holiday or the day before. Always handwritten, love Mama Lolly. Oh, something so simple, and all it takes is time and attention. A handwritten note. A handwritten note. That's expressing your sentiments. So when you get a chance, look up Alise Cortez Coloring Life book. And she talks about the 6 whispers, and expressing sentiments is one of those whispers. I would just foot stump that to say that while you still have your loved ones here, make sure they know how much you love them. Don't go through life thinking that, oh, they know I love them. Yeah, they know I appreciate them. How do they know? When was the last time you told them? Think about it. And if you have to think too long, that's way too long. That means you need to get up and call them, not text. Oh my gosh, we got to get away from just texting all the time. But what is it about a sweet call? Hey, I was just thinking about you and I wanted to hear your voice. Call. Express your sentiments to your family. Now, back to the impact of grandparents. So, y'all, let me tell you. I told you I've been a grandparent for about 10 months, and I'm loving it. I was talking to a couple of people, a couple of my listeners, and I was trying to get their feedback of what they thought about the value of the impact of grandparents in their life. And one person told me that there's no limitations for her grandkids. Can you believe that? No limitations? No limitations. Well, I will probably say the same thing. There is nothing I just would not do for my sweet baby. But there will be times when I recognize that my sweet baby's mama is trying to pull a fast one on me. And I'm like, no, ma'am. I have to work. I have to go to work in the morning. Come get this baby. You know? That might be the situation. Now, I'm of that same mind. There's no limitations that I would have with my grandbaby. Not right now. It's still new. I may have some grandparents out there that might be like, girl, you just wait. You're going to get enough and you're going to tell them kids, you better come get them kids. And that's fine. But you know what else? I think depending on how we were raised and depending on our culture, and our season in life. Listen, y'all. This will determine how much support we can give our grandkids. Now, how much support we give is no reflection, I think, no reflection of how much we love them. Now, but there are some grandparents like myself. I still work full time. So because I work full time, I can't keep my grandbaby all day long. I would love to, but I also have to work. So depending on where you are, I don't think it has a reflection. What you do for your grandbabies is not a reflection of how much you love them. I don't think so, because it depends on where you are. I mean, if you have to work, you can't watch your kids. If you are a caregiver of your own parents, if you are caregiving a family member, you're going to be limited on how much time you can watch your grandbaby. So it does depend on what's going on in your life. Even though you are this amazing grandparent, it depends on what else is going on in your life. And if given an opportunity, I think as a grandparent, you would want nothing but to spend time with your grandbabies, putting all of that wisdom and guidance and emotional support in them. I mean, because like I talked about it last week, borrowed sense is so much better than bought sense. Because if your grandparent can tell you how to do something so you don't, get caught in this loop and go round and round about trying to figure something out and they already have the answer, get that borrowed wisdom and go for it. Grandparents, that they're active, they're an active support in their grandchildren's lives. I mean, they help them with homework, they read them stories, they pay for their college. They're their biggest cheerleader. Grandparents are. Can you tell I love grandparents? I do. Grandparents have a special spot in my heart, y'all. Maybe because I had a great I have great grandmothers. And pawpaws, I do. But my Nana, just like I think I was her favorite. She's definitely my favorite. My sweet, 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 sweet. Another thing that I came across when I was talking to other people about the value and impact of grandparents is that it's a commitment and it takes time. It's a commitment to be that best grandmother, and it's a commitment of that grandparents' time on whatever they have to give up in order to take care of that grandparent. So again, it depends on what's going on in your life will determine how much support you can give. And again, I don't think it's a direct reflection of how much you love your grandparents. I mean, how much you love your grandchildren. You know, grandparents, when you ask me as a grandchild, when I was as a grandchild, I thought my Nana she was my favorite person. We did all kinds of activities together, whether it's watching TV, whether it's outside picking the eggs out of the chicken coop, playing in the garden, hanging up the clothes on the clothesline outside. You know, I loved hanging out with her, and those tender moments, those are impactful in our lives. Do you know there have been several times that been very hard times that's happened to me, and I just didn't know what to do or where to turn. I didn't know how to respond. And I remember crying on my grandmother's knee, just crying about how crazy the situation was and how I couldn't understand it. You know how some things happen in your life and you're like, what was I thinking? Or where did that come from? This particular time, I remember crying on my grandmother's knee, and she just patted me on the back and said, "It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right." And I'll be like, well, how is it going to be all right? I just don't see it. You know, sometimes when you are just in the valley, you just can't see coming out of the valley. But it takes nothing but that grandma's touch and that grandma's voice to tell you it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. God is in control. It's going to be all right. I remember that so many times, even today, grown. And if I experience, or when I experience situations like that, I just remember my grandmother telling me, it's going to be all right. God is in control. You see that? That's the heritage, the legacy of how to handle conflict. Borrowed sense. So much better than bought sense. Now I look for borrowed sense. And I hope and pray that Unfiltered Hummingbird with Camellia becomes a place that you can come for borrowed sense. Because I want to enlighten my listeners and share wisdom and knowledge that I've gained and gleaned from others or I've experienced in my own life, so you wouldn't have to make the same mistakes, or so it encourages and inspires you in life. So, the impact and value of a grandparent. Although some are even younger than what AARP says at 47, we have grandmothers that are much younger, started much younger than that, just because of what happened in their life. Can I give you one other stat? Grandparents spend an estimated $2 trillion annually. And grandparents spend about $52 billion yearly on grandchildren, counting gifts and other expenditures. Did you get those numbers? Now you tell me, what's the value of grandparents? Let me hear your thoughts. If you're a grandparent, put me a note in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Tell me your experience. I want to hear your story. Until next time. All right, that's all we have for today. Join me next time on Unfiltered Hummingbird. I am your host, Camellia. Until then, have a blessed day.